guys changed their routines this spring?
Well, we did get off to a slow start last year, and we talked about it. We're going to make sure, at least we're going to try to make sure that they get their 6 starts in spring. Last year, a couple guys had 5. I think Eddie got his 6. But I think it's important that we try to get them the 6 starts and make sure that we start off better than we started off last year.
When will Chris be here?
Chris, so I just got off the phone with Chris. So he's got the flu, as you guys know, but it's gone into a mild case of pneumonia. He is actually feeling really good. He's had this for about a week and a half. So he threw yesterday. He's going to throw again today, play catch, and so it sounds probably worse than what it is. But he said last night he had a great night's sleep. So he was really happy about it. He's going to come in here Friday to be reevaluated and to see where we're at.
How concerning is that, obviously, early on?
Well, it's concerning just because he's worked so hard to get himself to this point where his arm feels great. And then, like he just said, he goes, it's like the worst time to come up with a flu. So, and I know I actually just got over the flu. I had it for 2 weeks, and I still don't have 100% energy. So we're going to go easy when he comes back and just make sure we're going through the right steps.
Ron, I know today was not a full squad, but what did it feel like to be manager of this team out there today? Did that sink in a little bit, feel any different to you?
It feels different because when I usually walk around, I usually want to go field ground balls and join in where they need me. And today I was like, no, I think I better be over here in the bullpen and watch the guys throw. I think that's probably more important. So that part I forget. I'm walking around, I'm doing my thing, and then I forget and like, oh, I probably shouldn't be here. So that part was a little different.
Was there any point, like, last night or this morning when you woke up, and I know it's an historic franchise, but you gotta say, how cool is it that you're the Red Sox manager?
I mean, obviously it's cool, but the circumstances were so different in how all this happened that I haven't really thought about it that way. It's still pretty quick. I mean, I just found out yesterday morning, so it's still kind of getting used to everything. I walked in this morning and went to my usual locker, and my clothes aren't there, and they're over in the manager's office, so I had to walk over there, and so everything's still a little different for me.
Could you talk about the catching situation? How many games do you think Christian will play, and how many games do you think the newcomer with the long name will play?
Yeah, so Christian really depends on how he's doing health-wise, how he's performing. He had such a great year offensively last year that when you have a good defensive catcher, then all of a sudden puts together, and 2 years ago he had a good offensive year too. So, but last year put together a really nice offensive year, and you want him out there more. So he's put himself in a position where if he's playing well and doing the same thing, we're going to try to get him out there as much as possible. And I don't want to put a number on it because it kind of locks me into how much I want to play him. I just, as long as he's doing well, he's physically able to go out there and perform at a really high level. And I know catchers, it's a little different because I'm not going to say if he goes out there 100% because a catcher's rarely 100% through a season with all the foul tips they get and everything else that happens. But as long as he's good to go, we'll get him out there. And certainly right now he's planned to do the bulk of the catching.
Ron, just to clarify, so Sale, mild case of pneumonia, threw yesterday, will throw again today?
Yes. So he said he threw 60 pitches yesterday. He'll probably try to do the same thing today. And he said he put a little effort into it. So he's really, I know it makes it sound like he's just going into pneumonia, but really he's kind of on the back end of this thing. And like when he tells me that he's had a good night's sleep, I know what that feels like because there was about probably 3-4 days in a row where I had to change like through 3 different sets of clothes just trying to get through the night without sweating.
Ron, I know it's out of your control, but are you anticipating what MLB is going to find? Are you worried about what punishments they might hand out, or are you pretty confident they'll pass?
Well, I still don't really want to comment on any of that. I'm trying to focus on obviously a new job now and what I need to do and trying to get ready for the season. And I can't worry about too much. It's something that's really out of my control. I like where we're at right now, and I'll just try to keep moving forward.
It's obviously been a really crazy month for the organization. Did today feel like kind of a return to normalcy?
It did, yes. I think it was really nice on me personally to get that done yesterday, to try to figure out, although I'm still kind of the bench coach and doing the scheduling and things, but to get to where I know what's going to happen, and I think those guys too. I think for them to not have what's going on, I think that's big for us. And like I've said, they have something to prove, and I think just starting today and getting through, like you said, like a normal day, I think is important.
Ron, how much was the unknown weighing on you just over the winter especially as spring training came closer and closer in terms of, obviously there was no manager, was there any communication like, hey, we may need you to take over?
Well, no, there wasn't that kind of conversation. It was still they hadn't made a decision. I knew I was going to run camp, so that really didn't change anything. I'm still running camp, but I think we've got it in place so much what we did the last couple of years, and Billy's great on the computer for me, and he really, I just sit down with him every day and tell him how we want to do it, and we change things. So I'm not sitting there on the computer like I used to have to do. The normalcy helps. The last month, yeah, it's a little uncomfortable for me, not knowing exactly what I'm going to do there. I like to know things. I don't like to put things off. And so my personality probably doesn't like to sit back and just chill and wait to see what happens.
Ron, it's going to be hard, obviously, to replace Betts and Price.
Mm-hmm.
But for you guys to have a chance to do that, what's going to have to happen? How are you guys going to have to make up for that difference in production?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's fair to put it on somebody to make up for Mookie's production offensively. I don't think that's really fair. And it doesn't have to be Verdugo either. I mean, if Benny picks up, we think he's going to have a better year this year. If Jackie picks up and he's going to have a better this year. I think the combination of everybody, Bogey had a fantastic year. Devers had a fantastic year. It's hard to ask them to put more on what they did last year because it was pretty incredible. So I think the combination of everybody just kind of just doing a little bit more, I think makes up for what Mookie did for us offensively. You cannot replace Mookie Betts. This is one of the best players I've seen. So we're not going to do that. But other guys can pick up their game, and we can still put it together and do the same kind of thing. Bullpen with the starting rotation with David, we're going to have to figure out who's it going to be that guy that's going to fill in that spot. And David, when he was healthy last year, was still a great pitcher. And so whoever fills that spot, we need to have you've got to have good pitching to win now. That just, everybody knows that. And so we expect our guys to stay healthy, keep Nathan healthy this year, and Eddie, if he has that same type of year, we're going to be really good.
From a philosophical standpoint, what do you think of the opener, and is that a possibility to fill that vacant spot?
Well, I think the opener is a possibility when you don't have your 5 guys that you really like. Obviously, Chaim's very familiar with it. And in talking to him about it, it wasn't like, well, this is what we want to do. It was, what's the personnel we have, and what's the best way to get these guys to perform at a level where we hope they can be. And it ends up having to be a couple days where they have openers. So he's okay if we'd go there, but he's also, if we can fill it with a 5th guy, he's okay if we don't go there. So I think we just kind of see where we end up here at the end of camp. And if we have one day of an opener, we have one day. It's okay.
Who are some of the candidates you see for that?
Excuse me?
Who are some of the specific candidates you see for a
Well, we brought in some guys from other organizations. Weber's still back from last year. He's a guy I like because he's right at you. He throws strikes. When his command's good, he gets some easy outs, and it's fun to watch him. So we'll figure it out. But I think there's a few guys. It's not just one or two guys.
You still look at Darwinson kind of specifically as a reliever?
Right now, yes. We had discussions on him yesterday. There's a lot of people that think he's still capable, and maybe down the road, maybe he ends up a starter. His stuff is fantastic. He's very strong physically, so he doesn't wear down. So he's a guy that definitely, it's a possibility in the future. Yeah.
Ron, obviously Dustin faced a setback. Do you expect him here on Monday? Or?
I don't really know. Our medical group haven't talked to him lately to see where he's at. I'll probably try to call him today or tomorrow and find out where we are and what he's thinking, and try to go from there.
When was the last time you spoke with him?
Well, it was a text about probably about a month ago, but as you know, I wasn't a manager then, so I try not as a coach to do too much of that, but I wanted to know where he was and as far as where he was with his knee, and at that time he was feeling pretty good, and so.
Ron, you talked yesterday about the leadoff spot. Andrew was in that for the first couple of months last year. It seemed like there were times where he was maybe in between in that spot and wasn't quite sure how to handle it. Do you get a sense from him that he'd be willing to tackle it again, that he learned some things, and how does he feel about it, and how do you see him maybe returning there?
Yeah, the leadoff spot is obviously important when you have Mookie there, who I can't imagine a better leadoff hitter than Mookie, and scoring the runs that he scored. I know we switched and tried it differently the first couple of months last year. I think that was kind of, analytically you try to figure out, okay, where does Mookie produce the most runs for you? Does he because he hits homers, he drives in runs? Is he suited more for the second spot if you have a guy who's a good on-base guy leading off? And he probably does. So if Benny had what he had the year before and has a 380 on-base percentage, I think that works out really well to have Mookie second. And I think Benny did learn some last year. I think he's capable of doing whatever we want to do with him. He is an on-base guy, and he's also a hitter. He's not up there just swinging at everything. He takes pitches. He goes the other way. He's really just a pure hitter. So I'm fine with him. If he ends up there, I'm fine with him leading off. And, we'll have those discussions with him later when we start playing games and try to figure out how everybody fits in.
Ron, you don't have a bench coach. Is there anyone on the coaching staff that you're leaning on in particular?
We really haven't talked about it. I think Chaim and BOH have been so busy trying to figure out the trades and figure out the managing spot. I'm going to go up there later today, and I'm sure we'll discuss it again. It was brought up in the interview what I thought if I was to manage, so I mentioned a couple things, but we'll talk about that more probably today and tomorrow, and probably help if the investigation is over and we know we can just make a decision.
Do you think in this situation you're going to have to lean on your coaches even more than maybe a normal manager in a normal situation would?
Probably. I think right now with me still doing all the scheduling and things, it's still with camp, it's still working out well. The farther we get on, especially if we start games, then it definitely will depend on them to do more.
Ron, you mentioned the 6 starts for your starters this year in spring training. That's a little different than what
That's ideal. The 6 starter is ideal. I know sometimes you can't be ideal, but I think that's what you really plan to at the beginning. I know that's what Bushy would like, so that's where our mindset is.
So obviously it's different than last spring. What did you guys learn from doing it the way you guys did last spring?
Well, it's hard to say whether we were wrong last year or not, because we did basically the same thing the year before in 18, and it turned out great. But maybe, because we went long, because guys had more innings than they were used to, we thought in our minds, if we back off a little bit, maybe that's going to help us. It didn't work last year, but it did work the year before when they also tried to back off and go a little easier on the guys in spring, so we make sure that we had that long season and they're still strong into October.
So you felt, watching what happened last year, that maybe a change would be beneficial. Did you guys know that at the end of last season, or was that a decision you kind of came to recently?
We talked about it at the beginning of the season. When we didn't get off to a good start, we talked about it. I don't think we came up with any conclusions then, but I think we wanted to see what happened through the season and then get everybody together and see if it makes sense to try to get back to that sixth start.
Ron, with a situation like this, obviously a lot of unique challenges, new managers, spring trade. How important is your experience, with all those years of player, coach, manager that you can draw off of in this sort of new setting?
I honestly believe that if I didn't have all that, I wouldn't be comfortable talking with you guys. I really, I like questions. I really do. I've always liked questions. But it's because I feel like I have answers for what I do and what goes on. And so all those years of all the stuff that happened to me, and I mentioned a few when I was a player, all of that set me up to be able to coach and manage. It just put me in a position where I was very comfortable with the things that can happen in a game, the things that can happen with a player if you have to send him down, or if you have to release a guy, what it feels like when you're brought up for the first time. I understand all that stuff. So the experiences, and I know today's game, I know a lot of times we don't do things with experience. I still think it's really important. I think to draw on conclusions on what happened in the past helps you to make decisions on right now.
With Darwinson, you said he's going to start as a reliever, right?
That's what we're planning on right now, yes.
And so why is it easier to go that way and possibly make him a starter later as opposed to stretching him out in spring and then possibly making him a reliever later?
Right. I think it's getting him used to the big leagues, getting him confident that he can pitch here. Confidence is so huge in what we do, and I know we talk about it, but it really determines on what a guy's going to do, not just now, but in the future. I can just draw my own career. When I was in AAA and I was hitting well and I got called up to the big leagues, I always did well. When I was in AAA and I wasn't playing very well and they called me up, I usually didn't play very well. When I started the season with a team and got off to a bad start, I was a mess. So I think it's important for this confidence thing, especially for a young guy who's got electric stuff like he has. I think it's important for him to know for sure, man, I belong here. I can do anything you want. If you want me to close, I'll close. And if you have that mindset, once you have that confidence, you can move a guy in different areas. And I think it's easier then that if we wanted to, maybe it's next year, maybe it's a year after. I think it's easier to move him into a starter and have him be successful.
You guys began last year with sort of some undefined roles in the bullpen, and then went a little more traditional by midseason. Do you go into camp viewing Workman as your closer, as your ninth inning guy?
I think so. I think what he did last year, he deserves that shot to be the closer. I think it's always more ideal if you have roles for those guys, but I also realize that sometimes, and if you explain it right, sometimes those roles should change. If you go into, say what we got Darwinson, say he's at the back end of the bullpen, and we have Barnes there too, and if you go into the eighth inning and you're playing a tough team and they've got 2 out of 3 lefties that Darwinson's a better fit, I like him in there. And it may end up being in the 9th inning. If it shows that you've got 3 right-handers that are coming up that don't hit right-handers that well, and Workman is rested and he pitches the 8th, and then you go maybe with Darwinson in the 9th, knowing that maybe you have Barnes to back him up. So I don't think it always has to be an automatic, but I know mentally these guys handle things better if they know what's going on. if I have that discussion with him earlier and say, hey, listen, you're a closer, but if I need you to stop an inning in the 8th because it's important, I think they're fine with that.
Ron, you look at it how do you look at it? You got a guy named Jeter in
Jeter,
Red
yes.
Sox camp named after Derek Jeter.
Right. Yeah, I saw him yesterday, talked to him for the first time. I heard really good things about him from people in their organization and from what our advanced guys and scouts have looked at. Great conversation. When you guys talk to him, you'll see pretty easy going, and he engages real well. So we'll see. We'll see. I know the name is interesting. I'm sure he'll hear a lot about that. But he's a good-looking player, and we're hoping for good things for him.
Ron, given the nature of the situation that you're walking into, is there an element for you where you're embracing the pressure that comes along with being the manager of the Boston Red Sox?
I think that was one of the discussions that I had when I was interviewing is because all the stuff that I've done in the past, I think it really helps me to deal with what's going to happen, obviously, through this season. And I know I'm going to get tough questions all year. I understand that. But I like I told you guys, I really enjoy challenges, and the experiences make it way easier to get through the challenges that happened. I'm going back when I was in Milwaukee, going through the Ryan Braun thing with this suspension there. That was half a year of basically every day answering questions about it. Knowing what the players feel like, going through different trials, helps me to talk to them and for them to get through it. The good thing about the players, when you're younger, you're pretty resilient, and you get through things way easier. You guys all know how I feel about Alex, and I've said a lot about that. And these players certainly feel the same way, but they'll bounce out of this pretty quickly. And once we start doing what we need to do, they're so focused on what they need to do to get their game right that the outside stuff doesn't worry them and doesn't come into play so much.
Can you give any insight into where you guys are in talks with Kevin Pillar, and what would you like? How would you see the value of a veteran right-hand hitter?
Yeah, well, obviously with 3 left-handers, it's nice we have a right-hander, and I really can't answer too much because I haven't talked to really anybody about it. So remember, I just got the job yesterday, so I'm not on board with everything that's happening so far. But very quickly, I'll have a good idea on everything.
Schwarn and how do you view them as starters here? I know they released.
We'll definitely extend him out. So if that possibility is that he goes back and starts in AAA, or if we need him for length in the bullpen, we'll have somebody that's multiple innings. He's a guy we're not thinking of for just one inning.
That's Schwarn.
Schwarn.
And then Tanner Houck, obviously he's not on the 40, but.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with him that much, so I really can't answer that.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.